All right, so if you're going to be drawing from life, there's a couple things we need to talk about or know before we do it. Now, one, if you're drawing digitally, you might not always have the opportunity to really draw from life, especially if it's going to be an outdoor scene or something like that, and you don't have a tablet that you can take with you, say you're stuck at a desktop, then you're obviously going to have to use a photograph. Now, if you can, I always recommend drawing from actual life because, well, it just ends up looking better. There's more of a life and a vibrancy to it, and you just get more of the gesture, especially if it's something like an animal. But if you don't have the opportunity to do that and you're stuck at a desk, use a photograph. That's fine. If you can, go with real life. Some things that you want to keep in mind. One of the things that always overwhelmed me when I would start to draw something from life is kind of knowing what to include and what not to include. So one of the first things you can do that's really going to help you is to frame your object, right? Start out by deciding what is going to be in your image and what is not going to be in your image. If you're drawing from life, taking your fingers and going like this to create a frame for your object and being able to hold it up and put it in the landscape and be like, okay, everything inside this square is what's going to be on my canvas or my paper, and everything outside of it, I'm going to ignore. That way, you're not overwhelmed with all this detail and all this information, because when we look at the world around us through our eyes, there's not really a border around everything, right? It just kind of fades into our peripherals, and every time something catches our attention, our eyes dart to that, and then that just expands our peripherals and more in that direction, which can make us feel overwhelmed. What am I supposed to be drawing? There's so much, right? So creating a frame like this and cutting out everything that you don't need to draw will help take that overwhelming feeling down by a lot. And once I learned that, it made me feel a lot more confident when it came to doing real life drawings instead of feeling so overwhelmed. Second thing is to, before you even put your pencil to the paper, this is a mistake I see all the time, and it's a mistake I made all the time, right? A lot of times as beginner artists, we're really eager to just start drawing, right? And we just want to get to it. But if you really want to do good at a still life, before you even put that pencil on the paper or that stylus on the tablet, make sure that you stop and study your object. Look at it for a second. Take 2, 3, 4, even 5 minutes to just stop and analyze your object, right? If you're drawing a still life of, like some apples or fruit, something like that, take a minute and really look at it. Look at where the lines intersect. Look at how the image is, how the composition of the setup is like. Take a moment and study it, right? Look at everything you can. Try and absorb as much information before you ever even put your pencil to the paper, because that way you can start making mental notes so that as you go, you already have some information stored up to help kind of reference what you're doing as you draw, instead of just jumping in and start drawing, okay? So take the time to study your object, and that goes for anything, whether you're doing a scene, still life, figure drawing, whatever it is. Just take a moment and study it. It's completely invaluable, and it's really underutilized. So those 3 things are really going to help you when it comes to doing this and help keep you from getting overwhelmed. When you start out doing a live sketch, make sure, and we'll go over this in the next lectures, but start out with just getting your basic dimensions and your proportions and your shapes down, right? Don't go into detail work. Don't just try and get the perfect line on the first go. First, try placing marking points to help you understand where things are in relation to everything else. Because if you make your first line, right, let's say you're drawing an apple next to a picture next to a bowl of oranges, and you start out with that apple and you start drawing it, you haven't made any other marks to kind of indicate how big that apple is in comparison to everything else. Because by itself, the first line isn't wrong or right? It can't, the apple, if you just drew the apple by itself, there's no way to know if it's too big or too small or anything like that unless you have something else in your image to compare it to. So instead of just starting with one apple and then drawing the whole apple outline and getting all that shape in and then moving on to the next thing, slowly work your way around the whole image, adding these marks to help you understand where things are in correlation to each other. Otherwise, you have nothing to compare it to. So that's it for this lecture, and we'll get ready to jump in the next one. See ya.